name is Shayna Stevens. I'm from Arizona. Born and raised in Arizona. I'm very proud to be from such a diverse state. I actually received my bachelor's in secondary education from an Arizona institution, Northern Arizona University, and I lived my entire life as a Christian. And about 7 months ago, I decided to convert to Islam, and this is my story. I lived a life where I think I was playing God. I did all of these things. I drank alcohol, I did drugs, I went out to clubs. I did all of these things, and I was still this amazing activist, and I was still this person that fought for the rights of other people. But at the same time, I think all of those sins that I was committing were really affecting my heart. And it wasn't until Islam that I really realized, I guess, the error of my ways. And Islam is what really showed me, I guess, exactly how bad those sins were. And not in the sense of, I don't think any of us as Muslims even, we live perfect lives. But I think that now as a Muslim, I recognize the true impact of every choice I make, the true impact of every decision I make. And that's what I was doing prior to Islam. I was living for me. I was making decisions for me, for what made me happy. And now, with Islam, I live a life where my first thought is this going to be pleasing to Allah? So I actually started learning about Islam last Ramadan. Actually, I was sitting outside a hookah lounge with the man who's now my husband, and he made a statement, and he said, "I need to tell you something." And I was like, okay. And he's like, "I want my children to be raised in Islam." And at that moment, I realized that I had no idea anything about the religion that the man I loved actually believed in. So that was actually what motivated me to start looking into Islam and start actually really finding the core of what Islam was. And I started watching videos on YouTube of Ahmed Deedat and specifically Hamza Yusuf. And between those two men, I really found the truth of what Islam was. I started reading the Quran, and for the first time in my life, and I've been a practicing Christian prior to converting to Islam since I was probably 3 years old. I went to church, and for the first time opening up the Quran, I felt God for the first time in my life. And that feeling is what made me convert. Because you can go your whole life reading the Bible, and that was me. I went my whole life reading the Bible. Every time I did something wrong, my father sent me into a room and said, "Read your Bible." And I read the Bible cover to cover probably about 30 times in 24 years. And I never felt God the way I did when I opened up the Quran. So at that point, learning through Hamza Yusuf, learning through Ahmed Deedat, and actually starting to read the Quran and really finding the core of what Islam was, there was no way that I could just ignore that feeling. There was no way that now that I knew the truth that I could continue being a Christian. I had to be a Muslim. And I think that that change is what really makes me emotional about Islam, because I thought I knew God. My entire life I thought I knew God. I thought I was one of God's children, as Christianity really teaches. But not until Islam did I really realize what it took to be in the presence of God and what it took to really lead a life that is pleasing to God. And Islam has really showed me that I was covering all of the sins I was committing. I was covering up a lot of the pain that I kind of held on to from my past. And with Islam, I'm not using alcohol, I'm not using drugs, I'm not going out every night to cover that pain. With Islam, I'm actually facing that pain, and I'm giving that pain over to Allah. And I think that that's what makes me so emotional about it, is that it's a change in your heart. And I think that people don't really talk about it like that. A lot of people, friends and family, they've accused me for being kind of coerced into converting to Islam. But I think that if they would actually sit down and have a conversation with me about the religion that I've chosen to follow, they would really truly see that it's not anything in my mind that made me convert to Islam. It's everything in my heart that made me convert to Islam. For me, being a Muslim in America is extremely important because we're at a point in America where we don't see Muslims in a positive light. We don't see the good in Muslims. And I, as an activist, am someone that day in and day out, I fight for the rights of not only people from my community, but rights for people from all communities. And beyond that, I think coming to Morocco has strengthened me as a Muslim, because when I came here, I was expecting, oh, I don't speak the language, it's going to be difficult. And yeah, there are times when it is a little difficult. You want to be a part of conversations, but the feeling you get when you walk into a room, every single person welcomes you. Every single person checks on how you're doing. Every single person wants to know how you view their country. And I think with that, that is something that I definitely want to bring back with me to America. That feeling of every single person belongs, every single person is equal. And I think that I heard a lot about it from different people, from different imams, from Hamza Yusuf. But this is my first time actually feeling what a community surrounded and protected in Islam actually feels like, and what it does to outsiders. And what it does to outsiders is it welcomes them in with open arms. And I think that that is something that America is desperately in need of. When it comes to the hijab, I think that I've actually experienced that a lot from the Muslim community. I think when they see me, they're kind of surprised that as someone who's just converted to Islam, I don't wear the hijab. But I think that in my personal experience, when I decide to wear the hijab, I want it to be from my heart. I want it to be the right intention. I want it to be accepted by Allah. And I, as a Muslim woman, do not feel like my heart is there. I don't think that just because I converted to Islam, that I automatically have to put the hijab on. Just like every Muslim woman that grows up in a Muslim family, when they reach the age of purity, they don't have to automatically put the hijab on. And I think that that's another stereotype that's kind of built within the Muslim community, is that just because I converted to Islam doesn't mean automatically I'm ready to wear the hijab. One day do I hope to be ready? Absolutely, inshallah, one day I hope to wear the hijab. But I know right now, if I put the hijab on, it would be putting the hijab on for appearances, not because my heart was there, not because my intention to Allah was there. It would be specifically for the appearance of how others perceived me, not how Allah perceived me.